Hello everyone and welcome to Inderes TV. Eltel just published its Q4 earnings report, and here with me to discuss both the report but also maybe the outlook for 2026, I have the CEO Håkan Dahlström. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
All right, I thought we could just start by reflecting on 2025, and that was a year where reported revenue was down by 1%, but profitability increased to 2.5% from 1% the last year. How satisfied are you with this trade-off? And would you say that 2025 marked the year where Eltel's operational turnaround really took hold?
I think we can agree on that it really took off during 25, but in my book I would claim that the revenue from high voltage unit in Poland that we divested in the beginning of 24 is not really relevant to compare with. So I would say that, 2-3 million on the right side of the zero on the top line development, but for sure the profitability improvement took off, and I think we show a good end of the year with a solid result here. And 10 consecutive quarters, as you know, important for me that we every quarter beat ourselves.
Yeah. And if we then switch over to the latest Q4 report, how would you summarize the quarter for Eltel?
I think Sweden has to be mentioned here as a growth engine, almost 26% top line development. And the good thing is that it's all different parts of the Swedish business that both contribute to the net sales development and the profit improvement. So that is of course important. Profit improvement wise, Norway is actually the largest contributor. It's extremely important that we are on the right side of the zero. We expect more from Norway, but of course very important that the fourth quarter was on the right side. Finland, solid result. I would say top line, a bit of growth, but what is sort of to me is really satisfying is how the Finnish unit have coped with the situation, that it's a lot of decline and pressure on classic telco operator business and a lot of growth in the power areas. And this, my Finnish colleagues have been able to fully compensate the decline on the communication with growth in power and delivering a solid result. I think that is important.
And you mentioned Norway there before, and one of the most important achievements in 2025 was to turn Norway back to the blacks. But what were the key factors that finally tipped Norway back to profitability? And maybe more importantly, what gives you confidence that this isn't just a temporary boost or improvement, but also a sustainable turnaround given the softness in the traditional telecom market in Norway?
The turnaround in Norway is not by luck, it is by design, and the Norwegian team have very decisive work with structural improvement, simplification of the organization, taking out cost, adjusting the organization to the market situation as we see it now, and how we judge it will be in the future. So I would say that I'm quite confident that we have taken the right measurement and that we are now set for growth.
And if we then look at the market and looking ahead to 2026, what is the current outlook from your perspective in terms of the different market conditions in your different country units? Where do you see pocket of strength versus softness?
To predict the market behavior during 2026, I was try to stay very humble. It has during 25 been obvious that it has had very rapid changes. Some areas have been clearly much stronger than we expected, and some areas have lost momentum. So I don't dare to predict what 26 will mean, but for us at least, we have our priorities. We will stick to those. We will try to deliver on those as we have done now. And that's, I have a trust in that our organization have the capability to adjust. It won't be as we have planned, but with the capability to adjust and the proactive mindset, we can still do good. It won't be as we expected. It would be something different, but just by having a plan, being prepared to adjust, being very proactive, we should be able to deal with the situation even if it doesn't become as we expect it to be.
And if you look at the different country units from where you sit today, which markets do you see have the best sort of conditions to show growth in 2026?
I would say that Norway, I expect Norway to turn the decline into growth. There is, of course, in the beginning of 26, it's a bit difficult to compare year over year due to that the old large contract that we have left is fading out. But I expect growth in Norway. I expect growth in Finland. You have seen that since we had a large business in fiber to the home and telco in general during 24, Finland during 25 had a bit difficult to compare the numbers, or it was now in 26 the situation is a little bit different for Finland. So I think we would see Finland gaining momentum. The opposite, you could say then for Sweden that have 26% and decent growth during the whole year. But I still believe that Sweden will also show momentum. So we are quite optimistic about the situation, but predicting the future is, of course, impossible.
And if we then switch to the communication segment, which historically has been a biggest part of your operation and still is a quite big part of your operation. And that is a segment that face headwinds with lower investment levels within the traditional telecom infrastructure. How are you thinking about the long-term role of communication in Eltel's portfolio?
It also long-term will be important for Eltel, for sure. This is the customer segment that we are used to work with. We are happy to work with them. I believe that this will be a cornerstone also in the future. Maybe not of the size of today, but it will be important. Yes. The good thing is that there is many other players today that ask for the same services. So what we do for the public segment, particularly defense, is very much same as we traditionally have delivered for the telco operators. So we do communication services for the armed forces, for road authorities, that sort of customer, but also in the example of Norway, also for the offshore business. So they have the same need of qualified network and fiber or wireless solution.
And if we then talk about new and adjacent market, which is an area where you have shown very good momentum in, and in particular within solar power and data centers, and in 2025, it was about 11% of your net sales, which is a big increase from last year. Looking into 2026, how much sort of capacity do you have to further accelerate this pivot toward higher margin growth markets, and what are the main bottlenecks for faster expansion as you see it?
I think it's the bottleneck is more or less the business case of our customers. What will the prediction of electricity prices be? That has a big impact on project like solar parks. On the data center, on the other side, it's very much about permission to connect to the grid, and then the grid's capability to provide the energy for the data centers. So there is two obvious bottlenecks, but together with our customers, I hope that we can overbridge those.
And if we look at the margin target of 5%, you announced in this report that you see it being achievable within 12 to 18 months. But could you talk about what does the bridge from like current levels to the over 5% look like? And I mean, is it more about further operational efficiency, or do you see a more significant shift in the business mix and revenue growth to get there?
To me, this is three different components. The first and the largest is operation excellence and commercial excellence in the existing business, what I describe as our classic business. And that is mainly towards owners of infrastructure, critical infrastructure in society. For them, we provide services, both maintenance, upgrade, and build out, like new installations. That in that segment, we will have to be more efficient, but also better to utilize our possibility when it comes to commercial terms. This will be the largest contributor to the improved margin. Then, of course, when we address a new market, like broadening the customer base towards defense, other public sector customer, industry customers, that has a margin that is helping us, meaning that they provide higher margin than the average. Also in new and adjacent services, and I understand that they will have to change here and start talking about them as emerging services. They are not so new for us anymore. We have done this now a couple of years. But in that area, I also see opportunity to have better margin. But that is margin on the bottom line. These new services might not so significantly contribute to the gross profit. But due to that, we have much lower overhead in those areas due to that the service is delivered in a different way. We get a better effect on the bottom line. I would claim that in that order, they will contribute.
And if we look at the balance sheet and your current leverage, which is above your target level still, how are you thinking about Eltel's capital allocation priorities going into 2026? Is deleveraging the absolute top priority of yours, or could we see any investments in further growth initiatives, M&A, or even capital returns to shareholders?
Dividend, that's a question, is of course for the board, as you know. But to me, now when we see that the margin is coming up and we become sort of confident in that we will reach this 5%, it's opened up a possibility to do M&A. Before, it has not been an alternative. It shouldn't distract me or the management or my colleagues. So it should be just about profit improvement. Now when we see that this is in reach, we know what it takes, we know who would do what to reach that, it actually opened up an opportunity to think also of some M&A.
And then I thought we could talk about your market positioning, and given that your addressable market are very competitive, how would you characterize Eltel's competitive positioning today versus a couple of years ago? Where do you think Eltel has clear advantages, and where do you still need to improve to win more business?
I would say that our position is very different today than for 3 years ago. Now we have, at least in my book, we have proven that we deliver on our strategic initiatives that gives Eltel a completely different profile than before. Now when we are a part of the new energy sector, we are a part of the data center rollout. I think you and others also see in media more or less weekly about the big expectation there is on the power grid, on the establishment of data centers. So to be a part of that is of course a great opportunity for us. And we can deliver that, and we have done that. We have today reference cases in all of these areas, and we do that with somewhat better margin than what we have in the classic business. So of course that gives us the confidence.
And then finally, as we look ahead to 2026 now, what are your top 2 or 3 priorities for the year, and what would you define 2026? How would you define 2026 so that it is a successful year for Eltel, in your view?
The priorities, they are as they have been. It's about improved margin, broadening customer base, and new services for sure. But I think what you're a little bit also looking for, Sweden was the growth engine within Eltel during 25. I expect more units to contribute to the top line development in a positive way during 26. Otherwise, I think we wouldn't be able to call 26 as a success. So more top line growth from more units during 26. And then also that we continue to do as we have done now for 10 quarters. We beat ourselves last year result. That is just how it has to be. And then let's see how far we come. But to me, I think it's crystal clear what it takes. And now we try to energize ourselves in the company and be brave to do just that, to deliver on our target.
All right. Håkan, thank you so much for joining me here today, and thank you for watching.
Thank you.